I feel like it could be appreciated definitely more as an adult, though it's got the child sort of slapstick aspects at times. It does make so many references that would go way over a child's head, and I really appreciated it, to be honest.
And the references are less obvious than DreamWorks is notorious for just throwing tons of pop culture references in there that don't fit. Every reference here
it was
fits.
Very fluid.
It's all of a piece. It's not being thrown in there like, oh, we're gonna throw in this reference to another movie and people are gonna go ha ha ha. Like everything fits. Like I remember it was like a couple of years ago with Horton Hears a Who. There was a moment where they referenced Apocalypse Now and it made no sense. And they also threw in like a bizarro like anime sequence in there, and it didn't fit. And I feel that happens too much with a lot of animated movies today.
Yeah, it's choppy.
Is they just throw in these pop culture references to get an easy laugh, and that's not what's happening here. It's kind of more of an homage. It's not just throwing things in there for the sake of throwing things in there.
Yeah, I mean, what's in there, it actually fits, and you actually have to be paying attention to get that it's a reference. It's not like, get it, get it, get it.
I mean, the one moment that's kind of like, oh, look, here's a reference, wink, 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 is there is kind of sort of a cameo by Clint Eastwood. Not voiced by Clint Eastwood. And I have to say that Tim Oliphant, who does the voice of, and it's the Spirit of the West, but it's Clint Eastwood.
It's obviously Clint Eastwood. He does the voice.
He does an amazing Clint Eastwood impression.
Definitely.
And there is also another reference to another Johnny Depp character. His,
Duke Raoul.
Yeah, from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which we'll talk about later. So yeah, overall we clearly enjoy it, and anyway, now we're going to switch over to talking about some other Johnny Depp movies, and I guess we'll start with Fear and Loathing since we just addressed that. So I know you said that was one of your favorite movies.
Yep, I mean, not even just as a Johnny Depp film. I'm a big Hunter S. Thompson fan, and I think that it's possibly one of the best book-to-movie adaptations. It was weird. The cinematography is amazing. The characters feel real. I mean, it's all over the place. It's wild. It's out of control, but yet it makes sense, and it's just great. I mean, it's like, you wouldn't think two guys just going to a race to do a report about would be such an awesome, crazy movie, but somehow it works. And because, I mean, all the drugs thrown in, all the craziness, insanity, and it's just one of my favorite films. I love it.
And it's definitely one of Johnny Depp's signature performances.
Yeah.
And you kind of get a little of that character in Rango a little bit. There's certain inflections where you're like, oh, that's totally.
It's just the quirkiness.
Yeah.
Like just the bumbling, awkward, quirky, weird feel to it.
Yeah, and I think maybe when they were actually recording the voice, maybe that's when they were like, hey, you know what? Maybe we actually should throw a physical reference in there, because I'm sure they were starting to get flavorings of it.
And even when I saw the trailer, the first time, like a while back, I thought, wow, this is like an animated, it's got the same feel, in the desert. And
yeah, and I think, there had been another Hunter S. Thompson film. What was it called? It was with Bill Murray.
It's Where the Buffalo Roam.
And that wasn't nearly as successful, and it's kind of like a movie based on a Hunter S. Thompson book. It's kind of like an unfilmable thing, and I think the fact that Terry Gilliam, the director, is so out there himself. He does the animation for Monty Python, as well as doing great films like Brazil and 12 Monkeys. I think he's just so out there that he is able to capture the essence of being strung out on every drug imaginable. Not that we don't know. I don't know if he has been on drugs, but I think his mind is so loopy, even normal, right? That he doesn't need drugs. Yeah.
He's high on Terry Gilliam.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Next, figure we'll talk about Edward Scissorhands, because that was was the first film that began the long tradition of Tim Burton and Johnny Depp working together. And I realize that you have some problems with that movie.
I enjoy it, but only visually. For some reason, the story has always appeared dry to me. I'm not a big love story fan, with a few exceptions. I mean, I loved Benny and June. Johnny Depp was awesome in that. But it just didn't do it for me for some reason. I didn't like a lot of the characters, though the acting in it was good, the characters were good. It's kind of one of those movies that made me uncomfortable, which is a very rare occasion. I think that maybe that could be that it's a good film, because it made me feel awkward, but at the same time, it just not something I sit down and watch regularly.
I think kind of just calling it a love story is, I mean, obviously there is the love story there, but it's a lot more than just a love story. It is a very, very shrewd satire on suburbia.
Yeah.
And that's probably why a lot of the characters are unlikable. I mean, there's very much the he said, she said, the gossip spreading, you know, turning on somebody very quickly. It's also, and this goes back to Tim Burton's exploration of the whole Frankenstein thing with Frankenweenie, which was his 30-minute short that he did when he was working at Disney. And then Disney said, well, you're just too strange for us, and let him go. But while he was there, he did do this 30-minute short, Frankenweenie. And in many ways, Edward Scissorhands is kind of an expansion of that. And that was a movie about a boy whose dog dies and he brings him back to life.
They're making it into a full-length film.
Right, with stop-motion animation, so that'll be exciting.
It will be awesome.
And then, everyone loves the dog at first, and then the community turns on him. So it was very much kind of an expansion of those themes with Edward Scissorhands. And I really think on that level, it is very compelling the way he plays with suburbia, and even just the dinner table scenes where they're being like with Alan Arkin and Diane Wiest, and just trying to be the perfect little family dynamic, and trying to teach Edward how to be.
While he's sitting there, like, stabbing everything.
And trying to teach Edward how to be part of society and how to be a good member of society. And then there's this whole idea of, like, well, what does that even really mean? So everyone focuses on the love story aspect, but I think that kind of critique of America and the American life and the American dream and of suburbia is very, very on target.
And that's one of the things that I actually did like about the movie. I just felt that the love story itself cheapened it, but then at the same time, for the time period it came out and what was coming out at the time, it seems like it might have been inevitable. You know, they couldn't have just simply had weird guy comes to town and everybody. I don't think they
just threw in the love story. I mean, it was meant to be a fairy tale. It was a parable. That's what it was trying to be. It was trying to be all these things. It was trying to be a satire. It was trying to be this fairy tale and this love story. And I think the love story does work. And I always just like that image of Winona Ryder dancing in the snow, which is really just the ice shreddings from the sculpture that Edward's making. That shot is just so impossibly beautiful, and it just gets me every time.
It's like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with it. Definite mixed feelings. I want to like it. I just don't like it as much as I want to. But you did make some valid points.